Hi, and welcome to a discussion about new ways for families, along with our wonderful colleagues at Shared Parenting Scotland. I'm Megan Hunter, the CEO and co-founder of the High Conflict Institute, and super excited to be joined by our very esteemed colleagues over in Scotland. So first, I want to introduce you to Ian Maxwell, who has been our initial contact at Shared Parenting Scotland. And in fact, I got to come and train some of your folks there and even stay in your home, Ian. That was so wonderful. And meet your cat. I saw the cat on your lap a little bit ago. So tell us about you and Shared Parenting Scotland.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Shared Parenting Scotland is a charity. We've been established since 2010, although we changed our name from Families Need Fathers Scotland to Shared Parenting Scotland in 2020. And that was reflecting the fact that we were getting a lot more mothers coming to us. And obviously shared parenting is about both parents, not just about fathers. And also it means that we don't have to fight the battle about fathers' rights so much. People got confused. They thought we were one of these sort of guerrilla people who climbed up buildings and demonstrated outside courts, which we weren't. But it got a bit tiring having to constantly explain that. As a charity, we still deal with a lot of court issues and people going, trying to arrange the, dealing with a dispute after separation, trying to make arrangements to see more of their children. And we're also getting more inquiries now about the everyday aspects of shared parenting. I mean, all the difficult stuff, like how do you work out bedtimes, and how do you deal with the child playing, sort of playing one parent off against the other, or how do you introduce a new partner? So there's all sorts of things there. But what's been really nice is to, as well as all the support we give for the sort of legal and the dispute resolution, offering new ways for families is a far earlier and more positive way of supporting parents, rather than just helping them to go to court to fight each other. And we were really keen to pick up, and we knew that developing online training is hard. It's a lot of work put into it. So for us to be able to tap into the resources and the wonderful training you've developed, and then adapt it slightly for Scottish audience is far better than us trying to develop it all from scratch. So we're very happy to be working with you on this project.
Oh, likewise. And David, why don't you introduce yourself, if you would, and tell us about your role and how you're involved in New Ways for Families and sort of how it came to be in your pilot project there.
No problem. So my name's David McLean, and I'm the training manager at Shared Parenting Scotland. I've been there not particularly long. I came into the organisation last October to take over the reins from our normal training manager in the organisation, Claire Ross. So Claire took a period of extended leave and I came in to take over that role. And really it was to take on the work that had already been established with the New Ways for Families pilot project. So taking over where we were with that and continuing on since then with people that expressed an interest to come on to the pilot programme, to have initial chats with them, to get them onto the programme, to liaise with the coaches. So to keep the momentum really going that had been built up in the first few months by Claire and the rest of the team. And now as the pilot period has come to completion, we now have the exciting part of the rollout of it. So it's continuing with that and getting involved in all that brings with it, which is a fair bit of work, but really exciting work as we start to get the message of this course out to more people, and more excitingly as well, get the evaluation from the pilot process as well, from the learners and from those involved in it. I think that's a really exciting time that we're in just now. And as well as that, I do some other looking at developing some other training programs for Shared Parenting Scotland as well. So that's my role, and that's what I've been involved with so far.
Nice. And so up to this point, you talked about rollout, and any of you can answer this. What's happened up to this point? Where are you right now, and what happens next?
let me kick off with that. We knew that we had to show, particularly to the, well, in Scotland they call them sheriffs, so you call them judges. I know sheriff in your country is somewhat different.
Yes, it is.
Our sheriffs don't have guns and don't.
or
Yeah,
or
but
star
anyway.
badges.
Yes, right. And interestingly, in the US, there are parts of the country that use the word, pronounce it sheriff. So we
Right.
have sheriffs, we have sheriffs, and the very different role from a judge.
Yeah. But we knew that we had to produce some solid evidence from Scotland to go alongside the various evaluations that we've done so far, such as the one in Canada, because we want to get the sheriffs to send parents to the training before they hear their cases, just the same thing as seems to be working in the countries that you're already operating in. Because apart from anything else, it's a very, if a sheriff or a judge tells you to do something, it's a very good way of getting somebody to really take it seriously. So we knew we had to do a pilot. We are engaging with Jeff Chang in Canada, who also evaluated the training there, because we knew that from his own professional background and his knowledge, he would be a good, but still independent. And so really for the first year of operation, we have been asking people a lot more questions when they were doing the training, and Jeff will be doing focus groups and interviews and things like that. The difference that in Scotland is that we are rather than having a whole batch of independent coaches who then pick up on the coaching, we are doing central organization of the coaches. They're all that we recruited them. They were trained by Bill at the High Conflict Institute, and we will then pass out the coaching to them as the learners come into us. And so it does allow us to sort of coordinate it on a national level. Obviously, you are coordinating in the sense of providing the training, but I think your coaches are maybe slightly more free agents than ours are. But
correct.
by saying that, I'm not saying that we can. I'm sure Julie will say we're not controlling the coaches in anything apart from providing them with support and initial training. And I think the end result is that we will have a unified national approach to it. What's been good so far is we've had support from the Scottish government. We had a debate in the Scottish Parliament talking about this. So it's in a small country like Scotland, you can do things at this level somewhat more easily than you can in Canada or Australia or America.
Much, I think much easier. Correct. Yeah, let's talk a bit about the Parliament and sort of where things are there. So I understand you were given some recognition for the program?
Yes. What happens in the Scottish Parliament is that they can have a debate at the end of the day where they talk about a topic that's been raised by one of the members, but it has to be agreed by members from all of the five parties in the Parliament. And it gets responded to by the relevant minister at the end of the debate, just half an hour. But it's a really good chance to sort of explore a topic, and the fact that it's taking place in the Parliament building gives it some status. And the new minister, Elena Whittam, it was the first debate of this kind that she'd responded to. So I think she found it quite interesting to have that. Also because she came from a background of working for a domestic violence organization. And I think it was quite good that she is willing to look at domestic violence alongside support for separating parents, rather than just thinking of it as being one, the sort of an overwhelming aspect. So that gives a good start. And in a sense, the changeover from doing the pilot to the rollout isn't changing anything as far as the learner is concerned, apart from maybe fewer surveys to fill in. The training, we've run the training we will run the training in exactly the same way, and The only other difference is that they'll be paying us more money for it because we didn't charge them so much during the pilot. We've still to find out how easy it is to persuade people to pay money for it, but I'm sure they will.
Well, what we've learned is in many divorce and child custody matters, and parenting matters, it's very crisis driven. And a lot of times we're in any area of life, we're a little bit more excited by the idea of spending money when we're in crisis than when we're not in crisis. So that would follow. Julie, welcome. And we haven't introduced you yet, but I know you're one of the coaches for the program. And so if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and kind of at first, maybe just tell us what your role is and talk about the coaching that goes on with New Ways for Families in your program.
Sure, absolutely. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me. My name's Julie Gracie, and I'm one of the coaches, as you just said. And so I got involved in the coaching because I've been working in a voluntary capacity with shared parenting for a number of years. And bit like what Ian talked about, actually, that whole thing about being involved at a real crisis point where people are already in court, they're already really struggling and have been in a crisis situation for a long time, and really they're not being any support anywhere for them. It feels so useful to be able to do something with people a bit earlier. And I think so that for me has been a really, big positive around feeling more useful and helpful for the people that we're providing support for. And just the coachings have been really, really powerful. I'm a coach, a wellbeing coach. I do coaching for leadership development, etc. in my professional job, and being able to use some of my professional skills in this capacity has been really great for me because I'm very passionate about this work, about the people that I work with and who I support through this charity. So it's just been fantastic. It's amazing work, and Ian and everybody involved does great work. So the coaching in itself has been very, very powerful in that we're actually giving people real tools that they can use on a daily basis. And also the big key thing for me is that, having been involved in the charity for a long time, you're mostly working with a lot of dads. As Ian described, it was families need fathers historically, but actually, you're working with both parents. You're working with mums and dads, and also, it's a very imbalanced, our justice system favors mothers a lot of the time. And so that feeling of helplessness for dads has been quite challenging, even as somebody who provides support. Whereas this training, it empowers dads to feel more in control of their own behaviours, their own choices, their own communication. And so I think that in itself, just empowering people to actually feel like they can actually make a bit of a difference, has been really fabulous.
Yeah, it's life-changing for people. It really is. And I have you had parents where you experienced a shift in their insight, their understanding, maybe into their own behaviors or into the situation that they're in, if it is a high conflict situation, and perhaps they are co-parenting with someone who is a blamer or has really out of control emotions? Do you see those shifts?
Absolutely. Every time, Megan, and there's some that stick in my brain that are really significant. There's one parent in particular, you can literally see them with the penny dropping. And the modules, I think, are wonderful for reflection, reflective space, and they're able to do that reflection on their own. And then to be able to come and have a conversation with a coach and consolidate some of that and then relate it back to actions that they can take, it just feels really empowering, again, is the word I would use, and I think that reflective space, the way the module's designed, and them having an opportunity to write things and record things, and I've really found it to be quite impactful, and you can see the penny dropping, and that you can also see the progression from coaching session 1 to 2 to the final one. And that's really important for me as well, because if I'm doing anything, I want to be seeing that progression and seeing how it's making a difference. So absolutely have seen that, Megan. Yeah.
That's exciting. And I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice and
I'm
the
very passionate
passion.
about it. I'm sorry, I could talk about it all day, so I do apologize.
Don't be sorry. That is wonderful, because you're helping families, you're helping children.
Absolutely.
The impact is tremendous, and yeah, it's so impactful for everyone. We're not dealing with bad people. We're just dealing with folks who don't understand certain skills. They haven't had that practice yet, or been exposed to them. So learning those skills is like you said, very empowering. So Ian, is there, I know there's been some data collected, and what are the next steps with that data?
Well, Jeff is doing both individual interviews with some of the learners and also focus groups and with learners and coaches. He will also have a series of surveys that have been filled in, and they're standardized surveys that are used in lots of applications, so they're well validated. He will be analyzing that, or his students will be, and he will come up with, I hope, an indication both of how well it is working. He'll be looking at anything that we need to modify for Scotland, although I think that is, we've already adjusted some of the briefing, because obviously the names of people who work with parents in separating situations are different. Child maintenance arrangements are different, but the underlying principles within New Ways, they're worldwide, I think. And we hope that we'll get him to publish his evaluation in May, and then we will rush around the country showing it to lawyers and sheriffs and showing it to our legal aid board and so on. And we're already getting interest. I mean, the bit of launching that we've done just over the last couple of weeks, I mean, we've been getting inquiries from lawyers saying, they've got some clients who they think could do it. And we already have good working relations with lawyers, because we hold support meetings really every week in different parts of Scotland. And the lawyers who come to these meetings help us. And when we were recruiting coaches last year, I think probably certainly more lawyers than anything else. We have lawyers, social workers, family therapists, and coaches like Julie. But family lawyers like the idea they're doing something positive rather than just fighting in court.
Right, it's a relief, and it shouldn't be all about fighting. I mean, these are families; these are children that are impacted. So this is a paradigm shift from the old ways. This is why Bill called it the new ways for families. It doesn't have to be the old ways. It doesn't have to be fighting. It doesn't always have to be litigation. Yes, there's a place for the courts and everyone's role in the family system. But let's try something new and see if it works. So I'm excited for the data to come out. And Bill, Eddie, and I will be in Scotland, as you know, in May, hopefully right around that time when that information is released. And then I know I'll be in Los Angeles at the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, where I think you'll be as well. And yes. All of us are speaking.
We're talking at two conferences. We're talking at the International Council of Shared Parenting Conference in Greece at the start of May, and then at AFCC in Los Angeles at the end of May. So Jeff had better get his evaluation written by him.
No if you're listening, Jeff, no breaks for you.
Yeah. He is on it. He is on it.
He's on it. Good. David's making sure that connection's continuing. Yes. So just a couple of last questions. I don't know if this is best for David or Ian or who, but were there any challenges with implementation or challenges with any part of the program?
Would you want to go first, David?
Yeah, I'll maybe start on it. From my point of view, if you like, I would say there's sort of minimal challenges that I've faced so far. And I would say that really because when the people have come to me, and they generally come to us in one of three ways. They'll come to us through the helpline that we run in Shared Parenting Scotland, or through, if they're attending a support group meeting. Ian mentioned we do regular support group meetings, or have just generally found us through our website or social media. So when people are generally contacting us, there is already a need there from them. So so it's been relatively straightforward to have a chat with them and get them on to what's been the pilot course. And then the administrative side of it, I found all the coaches that I've dealt with so far absolutely fantastic, because they are so engaged in the process and so passionate about it as well. That my job in just relaying things to them and getting them to pick up with the learner has been really, really straightforward. With it being a pilot, there was maybe just one frustration, is to get people to complete the full process of the pilot, the 12 modules. There was quite a percentage that started the process, and then for whatever reasons just couldn't get it completed. And we understand that life gets in the way. And with it being a pilot process, we knew there would be a percentage of people that maybe wouldn't complete it. But we've still been able to get part evaluation from them as well, because it's been important that we capture that as well, as to maybe what have been the reasons, where they haven't been able to complete it. So from an operational perspective, really, to sum up from me, it's been very easy to use, very easy to liaise with you guys as well when needed as well, and get support from yourselves. So it's been a really positive process for me as a training manager so far, and long may that continue. I'm sure it will.
Good. And props to Susie Rayner from our team here at High Conflict Institute. She's our New Ways coordinator, and she lives in Australia. We're kind of all over the world on our team, and she's a really lovely person and is so passionate about New Ways for Families.
Susie's been fantastic, and always at the end of an email, we've had chats online with her as well. So she's been a fantastic support to us as well. Yeah.
Great.
Ian, I don't know from your perspective, obviously.
Well, one of the things that came up when we were having the Q&A with Bill last time was the question of people who are neurodiverse or who've got other sort of issues, which actually means that learning for them is hard, or there are barriers, whether it's with written material or whatever. And I think what Bill was saying then was that if you can get them to do the first 4 units and the last one, that will accomplish the majority of the key skills. And so we were, and while I want to keep things straightforward. I don't want us to have lots and lots of different flavors and all this sort of stuff, but we do need to look at the special needs of some of the people doing the training, and we will adjust accordingly. And we're not going to say to people, you're a failure because you haven't finished 12 units. We will say, well done for getting this far, and recognize that. But I think that's probably, and I think it has been so great to be able to deal with people worldwide, and it's just never been possible before the sort of technology, and then obviously the sort of COVID led to it expanding. But I remember taking part in Zoom sessions with Bill a couple of years ago when I was sort of doing the training myself, and it was just to be able to take part in a session with people in different countries, to be split down into meeting rooms, to be able to do all these wonderful things in a way that was just never achievable. So I think the training is not about new technology, but the new technology certainly helps the training.
Oh, that's interesting, fascinating, and yeah, it's new ways for families, new ways to get training through technology, and it's kind of fascinating for me to have worked with Bill for all of these years, and way back in, I think it was 2008 when he came up with the concept of new ways for families. he kind of put that all together in his head, and he's like, we were kind of debating about what it should be called. He was talking about this concept, this method, and he's kind of a natural marketer, so he came out with New Ways for Families rather quickly, and I was like, I don't know, that sounds kind of old-fashioned. But guess what? He was right. It stuck, and it has very specific meaning. Families don't have to fight. They don't have to be in conflict. They can learn the skills. This is a new way. So we're really grateful. Before we wrap up, any last words from you, Julie, or David, or Ian?
I guess, I'm just really excited that we are going to now move from pilot to rollout, and also really keen to see the research, and I just think it's wonderful that there's such interest from Scottish Government, and it's been talked about as Ian's described. I mean, that is just fantastic, and it's really encouraging. As somebody who works in the health and social care system in Scotland and work with a lot of difficulty and challenge, and work with Scottish Government in other ways, I understand how difficult it is because there's so many priorities, right? So it's so encouraging and exciting that this is being paid attention to, and absolutely rightly so. So yeah, and I think that's down to the fantastic expertise of Ian and colleagues. So I just, I think you can, as you heard the passion, Megan, I have such respect and admiration, for the charity and for all these guys who work in it full time. So it's just an absolute pleasure and privilege to be involved in it.
From my perspective, I would echo everything that Julie says there about the organisation, because I'm quite new into shared parenting, and it's a fantastic organisation, and fantastic that they've got, tie in with you guys as well, and we're able to use New Ways for Families. I just think we're at a really exciting time with this training, and I'm just really excited over the next 6 months as we get, yes, the evaluation, but we've already building traction with the legal market, with the Scottish Parliament. People are beginning to find out more about us, and their ears are pricking up, and the interest is there. And I think we've got a fantastic programme to be able to say, here we go. Here's a solution for you guys. So I'm very excited what the next 6 to 12 months will bring.
And Ian, we'll let you have the final word. I mean, you're the one that picked up the torch years ago, you and your colleagues, and have really put in the time and built the foundation to make this work to this point.
Well, one of the things that really encouraged me was when one of our learners said, I found this really useful in my working life as well. That to me meant a lot, because it was something that was going to, because I mean, unfortunately, not all of the people who come to us are going to end up with a happy shared parenting existence. High conflict people, they can improve, and I'd hope they will improve through this sort of training, but we have to also be realistic about it. Sorry, that's a slightly downbeat note, but to give people something, and as Julie said, they get the penny drops and it helps them, and by helping them, you're really helping their children. And although our work is funny because we very rarely see the children that we're influencing, but we do know that it's the children that are the main beneficiaries, and that's the sort of that's the sort of really nice to be able to do something positive for children in separated families.
Oh, certainly. And I think you're just being authentic and realistic that, it's not a panacea. No, there's not a cure-all, but people can be influenced and to improve in their conflict behaviors. And when they have that penny drop, it doesn't end there. Typically, that opens the door to a new insight down the road into something else, and they teach that and role model that to their children. So, kudos to all of you. Thank you to each of you for the work you're doing, and to Shared Parenting Scotland for taking up this pilot program and getting the rollout going and doing the data and all the hard work. The last, and I think maybe one of the most important questions is, what's the cat's name?
Oh, well, the cat's name is Magnus. It's a big
Magnus.
Scottish name.
I have met Magnus. I just forgot Magnus's name. So it's nice to see Magnus again. And thank you all very much for spending your time with us. And I know that others that will hear this and see you will be motivated and encouraged. So thank you again.